All right, carnivore diet. I want to talk a little bit about why this seems to be working for some people and how it all works, and why, when you start something like this, you're going to see a huge amount of weight loss right away, but it's not what you think it is. It is some body fat, but it's mostly water weight. This might be a nerdy type of video. I don't know if you're at all interested in it. If you are enjoying these videos, tell me on Patreon. I'm going to put this live on Patreon for all members to see, not just paid members. We're also going to put it up on YouTube on the channel, but it's not a channel that anybody watches. It's just somewhere where maybe somebody browsing through YouTube finds it on a whim, but it's mainly for Patreon people. So thanks for signing up if you want to get these updates. So I'm on day 18 of the carnivore diet. I've lost, well, when I started, I was in the high 180s, well, over mid, I was 186. And stepped on the scale the other day. I did sink all the way down to 172. So you say, wow, 14 pounds of fat. No, not 14 pounds of fat. And that's where we have to talk about what actually happens when you eat food, when you eat carbohydrates, and how your body cycles through things. And I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm not a doctor, so you shouldn't listen to me. And if you try any of this stuff and you do go to your doctor, just know your doctor might push back on you and tell you that this diet will kill you. I say do your own research. There's a lot of people that have thrived on these diets, multiple sclerosis patients who have gone to a quarter of their medication or even off of them, Parkinson's people who couldn't walk across the room, who got their mobility back, couldn't speak, could now speak. There are people who were depressed that got their depression to go away. And it all relates to the diet, I feel, and to the gut health. But anyways, are you losing fat when you're on a carnivore diet? Short answer, yes. Long answer, not entirely. So we have to talk about what happens when you actually eat something. Now, when you eat carbohydrates, your body is going to go through a cycle. You have your pancreas, it creates insulin. Insulin is excreted. It's a hormone. It's a growth hormone. It will help you shuttle things into different parts of the body. Bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders, dangerously, might I add, use insulin when they are really trying to gain weight. They're also using lots of other types of drugs, and they will use insulin, which can put them into insulin shock and kill them if they're not careful. But what they're trying to do is trick the body to shuttle more calories and more nutrients into their muscles. But insulin is a hormone and it does just that. So insulin is made to partition your carbohydrates. When you eat carbohydrates, a couple of different things are going to happen. First of all, it's going to hit your stomach. Insulin's going to be produced. It's going to break down the carbohydrates. They're going to go either into blood sugar, which is why you get a little bit of a boost. And Snickers did an entire video ad campaign off of this. Or it's going to go into muscle glycogen, which is a syrupy substance that is in between all the muscle fibers. Think about eating a piece of chicken, or think of string cheese, maybe better. And string cheese, you can string it apart. Well, your muscles are stringy, and so the glycogen sits in there. And once the blood sugar is full, once the muscle glycogen is full, it has nowhere else to put it but into fat stores. So it puts it into fat stores for a very basic reason. The very basic reason is because we are prehistoric beings when it comes right down to it. Even though we are much more intelligent, we like to think sometimes, even though we think we have more knowledge, we'd like to think sometimes, I guess we do. We're still the same things we were either 6,000 years ago, if you're the kind of Christian that believes in that. I'm a Christian that believes that we are millions of years old and that the Bible doesn't really tell us how long a day or a year is. Back in the old times when God created the earth in 7 days, maybe that was 7 million years. Maybe it was 7 billion. It doesn't fill it in. Point is, we're the same that we kind of were all the way back then. So what that means is that we are made to survive feast and famine. We are made to survive a very long time. God doesn't want us to die because we have lack of nutrition. So when we have too many calories, again, mostly from carbohydrates, and those go into blood sugar, muscle glycogen, the next step is fat storage. Your fat will just basically create these little balloons, which are your fat cells, and they will create them over and over and over again. So you can go ahead and keep getting fatter and fatter and fatter. And that's where the cycle of insulin and storage ends. Now, a healthy individual has an insulin spike and then it goes into muscle mostly, or it goes into muscle glycogen because they have more muscle on their body. But even then, you're barraging your body with insulin spikes. This is why people who are diabetic have to take insulin, because their pancreas has basically played UFC tap out. They're not wanting to actually, store it anymore. The pancreas gets overworked, and now you have to supplement with insulin. So what if you remove all of the carbohydrates from your diet? That's the question, right? If you remove all the carbohydrates from your diet and you do like an animal-based diet or a proper human diet, as I've heard it called, or you do a ketogenic diet, which doesn't really remove all the carbohydrates, and people mess those up more than they can on a carnivore type diet. What that means is that you no longer have carbohydrates. your insulin is no longer going up because there's no carbohydrates to spike your insulin. Some things like sweeteners and things like this might spike your insulin, but it's very, very debatable and it's per individual. So when your insulin doesn't spike, then the first thing that goes down and gets burned through is the amount of carbohydrates in your blood sugar. And then the second thing is your muscle glycogen. And then the third thing is your fat cells and your fat storage. And then what happens is kind of cool. I mean, all those little balloons, those little fat stores that your body started multiplying and growing at an exponential rate, they start to get tapped into eventually because they have to break down. And they have to break down because if your body doesn't have carbohydrates as a fuel source, it has to have something. And what the body can do is the body can actually create ketones, which are a special type of energy source that your body uses from your fat breakdown. So ketones are actually like burning a piece of coal versus burning a piece of paper that you've doused with gasoline. The carbohydrates, sugar especially, or anything that's high glycemic, means that that's like a piece of paper coated with gasoline when you burn it. But ketones are more like a longer burning a fuel source, like a piece of coal or charcoal in your barbecue, for example. It'll burn for hours. You go pick up a hot coal 2 hours after you started your barbecue, you're in for a lick of trouble. So you start to empty your fat storage cells because your body has to have access to some kind of fuel source, and that fuel source is going to be ketones. And don't let somebody fool you. You do not need carbohydrates to live. We are designed, again, ancient people. I'm a believer in God's and Jesus, so you may not be, but even if you're not, you got to remember your body is designed to keep you alive. You want to stay alive. And what a better way for our body to store fat when we have plentiful amount of calories and then tap into that fat when we don't have plentiful amount of calories. And that's exactly what's happening on this cycle. So when you start the carnivore diet or even a ketogenic diet, you're going to go through multiple phases. The first phase is you might feel a lack of energy, and that's because you don't have quick access in your blood sugar. And the second thing is you're going to be switching over to a fat based kind of metabolism. And that's like converting your car from regular gasoline to a diesel engine. It doesn't take just overnight snap. You have to actually bring it into the mechanic and they have to remove parts of the entire system, and the entire system has to be switched over, right? So you have to think about this as a transition. You might go through heck, unless you've done one of these diets 2 or 3 or 4 times, which I did because in the past I was quite the yo-yo dieter. So I'm pretty lucky where I bypass all of that. But along the way, you're going to lose some weight. What are you really losing? Well, since you are breaking down your fat stores and you are accessing those for those ketones to burn your body's fuel source, then yeah, okay, then that's part of it. But most of it is actually just stored water. And we store water not in our fat, not in our belly, although you will look less bloated when you do one of these diets and your inflammation will go down. But you're storing all of that water mostly in the muscle fiber. And the muscle fiber is where the water binds to that muscle glycogen, which is the syrupy substance that I was talking about. And I can't remember, but I think most people would have about maybe 400 grams of glycogen, but I think 9 grams of water binds to the 400 grams, which if I do some quick math in my head, that's 3.6 kilograms plus another half kilogram. You're talking about 4 kgs or maybe 8 to 10 pounds of water. Yeah. And that's why you will lose that weight so quickly. But after that, you're going to start seeing body compositional changes. I mean, just by losing the water weight, you're probably going to feel better. My Apple Watch, it was on 4 and it's still on 4, but it's too loose. So I put it on 3. It's a tad bit too tight. My wedding ring comes off my finger easier because my inflammation is way down because I'm not eating foods that cause me inflammation or cause my body to go into stress mode, and my cortisol is way lower. And these are all things that happen when you go on these diets. So yeah, the first little bit on the diet is mostly water weight loss, but there is fat happening as well, of course. And what they say about these diets is you're not supposed to look at the scale, but I'm a scale watcher. I love it. I love looking at the scale. I get on the scale, but what I hate about that is when the scale goes up. And some people actually see the weight go up on these diets. And why would they see the weight go up? You say, well, you're eating too much calories because you're eating nothing but fat and protein. That's not necessarily it. See, what's happening when you're eating this kind of diet is you're changing the way your body partitions calories, partitioning, right? So when you eat a calorie, you say, where is it going to go? Now, in the way you might have been doing it before on a carbohydrate-based diet, you're now eating calories and it's being partitioned as blood sugar, muscle storage, fat, blood sugar, muscle storage, fat, until everything is full and it's just fat, 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 fat. Now you're breaking down your fat stores. You know you must be because you're not eating carbohydrates anymore and your body can't survive otherwise. So what that means is that you are probably, in most cases, I would imagine, but there's no studies on this because they don't study diets that tell you to go to the grocery store and buy 3 ingredients for your whole diet. They only study diets that tell you to go to the grocery store and buy all of the big pharma or big agriculture foods. But what I imagine is that what's happening here is that you're now partitioning your calories in a more intelligent way. Your body is now using your protein to build muscle. Your body is now using all of these things in order to better take care of your body, rebuild, regenerate. All the inflammation's gone, your joints feel better. These are things that require building blocks. So a lot of people go on these diets, they say, just use a measuring tape. Use a measuring tape. Take your measurements around your waist, around your navel. Take your measurements around your chest. Take your measurements around your thighs or your buttocks if you're a woman. I didn't do all that. I kind of wish I did, but I can see it in the mirror. I'm losing weight. I can feel it in my pants. I'm losing weight. I can feel it in my socks that used to leave impressions on my feet. No, I was not morbidly obese, but I had socks and they were leaving impressions on my feet. I was retaining water. I was a little bit bloated all the time. So those are some of the things that you'll experience going in terms of weight loss and stuff like that. And if this video worked for you, then if you did find this on YouTube, then throw me a subscription or throw a like. I'll do another video in a couple of weeks, and I'll update the Patreon for the free members, all members for this as well. Thanks for watching. We're filming on this new iPhone. I'm going to play around with sound items and see how it looks. And hopefully you guys have a good AV experience of this. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.